All right, we'll get started. I'll call tonight's meeting to order. It's Monday, March 30th, 2026 at 6:13. Thank you again, everybody, for your patience. We are full 5-member board again. Welcome back, Harry, from your vacation. We're glad to have you back. We are on Zoom. I assume the live stream is working and recorded for a YouTube posting. And before we get into our agenda, if we could please stand for the pledge. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Alright, just a couple quick housekeeping things. We have Treasury warrant 26-20 and 26-PW20 for approval. Took a look through, nothing out of the ordinary. It seemed like it was pretty straightforward. Nothing to report, Heather?
No,
So if there's no questions or concerns, I'll entertain a motion to approve Treasury warrant 26-20 and 26-PW20.
Motion to approve.
Second. Any discussion? Alright, roll call, Alex.
Aye.
Second, aye.
That's an aye.
Ledger, aye. Thank you. We have some meeting minutes. We have March 12th, 2026 budget meeting on here. I believe that was the Bay Path session. I don't think the minutes actually made it to our packets, so if the board is agreeable, we'll just defer that to our next meeting. So we have March 16th, regular meeting, as well as the executive session. I'd like to break those up, so if we have, I'll entertain a motion to approve March 16th regular meeting minutes, March 16th, 2026. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion on those? And Harry, these are ones that you were.
I was not there.
So we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? All right, Alex?
Aye.
Second, abstain.
Whitman?
That's an aye.
And Ledger, aye. And then we have the executive session minutes. I'm gonna again do these separately because there's two. The first is for the topic of the proposed intermunicipal agreement for police services. I will entertain a motion to approve but not release at this time the March 16th, 2026 minutes for the IMA agreement for police services. So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call, Alex.
Second, abstain.
Lemon.
That's an aye.
Ledger, aye. And then we have the second topic from March 16th, which was the renewal of the police chief and fire chief contracts. For this one, given that we have a topic on our agenda to approve and sign the contracts that were discussed in executive session, if the board is comfortable, I'll entertain a motion to approve and release pending signature of that contract at this evening's meeting.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, Alex?
Second, abstain.
Lemon.
That's an aye.
And Ledger, aye. Thank you. And if the board is agreeable, actually, before we get into everything, I think we're gonna end up jumping around the agenda a little bit just because we have a lot of people for various items. But we do want to take care of the public hearing, which was scheduled for 6 p.m. This is the National Grid poll petition. So I will declare that the public hearing is open. We have information in our packets. As far as I know, this is just moving of an existing pole on Britnell Drive. We do have a memo from Director Kolofsky of the DPW saying that he was aware and has reviewed, doesn't have any concerns with the proposed location of the pole. I can't exactly see, but I believe we have a National Grid representative on Zoom.
Yes, Charlie.
Okay, Charlie, thank you. Are there any questions or concerns to review about the pole relocation?
If I may, just for clarification and more so for the public, this is just to move a pole for the new Hilltop construction, the new Hilltops
Estates.
subdivision, but estates construction, is that correct?
Yeah, the existing pole, if I may, is blocking the location of where the road is going to be put in, so they're just moving it across the street to the other side.
And a follow-up on that, if I may. I'm not sure if National Grid can hear me or not, but I think I ask this all the time, but the height requirements would obviously be such that tractor trailer and construction traffic should not have a problem with the wires crossing over the road, correct?
If I may, from National Grid, this is Charlie. Yes, I can. That everything built new has the standards to account for traffic height.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Sorry,
No, that's okay.
this is just another, I guess, process question. The poles are staying in the right of way, so I guess abutters notices did go out. And so I don't know if there were any abutters that were here that had any issues or questions or concerns or anything. But
Hi, Kirk Rolls, 52 Brittenell. Actually, I had one question, but now, based on what Tamika said, I have two. The plan for Hilltop subdivision shows the pole moving about 10 feet to the east on the same side of the road. And Tamika, you just mentioned going to the other side of the road.
Yeah, I may have misspoken. I thought that's what I had heard from the DPW director, but I also may have misheard. So Charlie can certainly confirm that in case I misspoke.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite hear the question from the butter.
Okay, so can you hear me now?
Yes, I can.
Okay, I just wanted clarification that the pole is moving about 10 feet to the east of the present location on the same side of Brittenell Drive.
I'm not the direct designer on this project, but from the information that's given to me, yeah, it looks like it's moving in that direction, eastwardly, about 10 feet, give or take.
Okay.
And
Okay, then my second question is, my electrical pickup from the transformer at the end of my driveway comes from that pole about 5 feet to the east of the pole. So when that pole's moved, first of all, I'm presuming all electricity will be turned off for some period of time. Is that true?
typically, they work on lines while they're hot to minimize on any outages that may occur, and if there was an outage that occurs, you would be informed. And it's typically something like this. It wouldn't be more than, I don't know, a couple hours, whatever it takes them to set the new pole and transfer the wires. But they would start by setting the new pole and then transferring the wires over. Typically, they do it hot unless splices are needed for extra length. And even then, they can do live splicing. So odds are you won't lose power.
Last question, and will we be notified what day and time this will occur? Or will it just happen one day without any notification?
If you are going to take an outage, then they will notify you when it's going to happen.
Okay, thanks.
And sorry, for clarification, looking at the map that's provided in our packet, it does look like the existing pole will stay on the same side, to your point, Kurt, and just move 10 feet or so to the east. So the wires do cross there, but that looks like the wires currently existing, kind of zigzag back and forth off of the existing pole there, so.
And the wires from my house come directly from that pole. just
Okay.
by the pole.
Sorry for the confusion,
That's
Kurt.
okay.
That was totally my
No, no, no.
fault.
Anybody else from the public have any comments, or anybody from the board? All right, if there's no other discussion, I will entertain a motion to close the hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second I.
Whitman, aye.
Matt's and I.
Ledger, aye. And if there's no question or concern, I'll entertain a motion to approve the National Grid poll petition to relocate one JO pole on Brittenell Drive.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? All right, roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second I.
Whitman, aye.
Matt's and I.
Ledger, aye. All right, we're all set. Thank you, Charlie.
Thank you. Have a great rest of your night.
You too. All right. Again, just jumping around the agenda a little bit to accommodate who we have here. If the board's amenable, I'd like to move down to under new special business, the Boston 25 zip trip. If we could, I believe we have a representative, is it Maddie on Zoom?
Actually, Maddie's not on. It's Karen Levy. I'm the creative director at Boston 25. Hi, everybody.
Hello, thank you for joining us.
No worries.
All right, so I'm actually going to, if you're comfortable, kind of turn it over to you just to kind of give us the quick intro and everything that goes along with the zip trip.
Sure. And please jump in if you have any questions. So I don't know if anyone's familiar with our zip trips, but I think this is our 23rd season. Basically, our zip trip is we take our morning show on the road in the summer on Fridays. So we would like to come to Rutland this summer. I think the date that we suggested was July 24th. And basically what we do is we come to the town, we broadcast from 8 to 10 a.m. with our whole morning show. And the content of the show is basically all about Rutland. There's all different segments. There's a town tour. I'm trying to think of everything here. We talk to local businesses. We highlight all the great things about Rutland. And I mean, that's like in a nutshell. I mean, really what we'd have to do, we come ahead and we'll talk to the town about, we look at locations, we agree upon a mutual location. We talk to fire, police, everything's all agreed upon and set ahead of time. And then the crew does get there at 3:30 a.m. to set up, but we're very self-sufficient. You know, nobody would need to be there unless we talk to fire and police and they feel that's necessary. And we start, like I said, the bulk of the show is from 8 to 10. We may do some live hits starting at 7. Crowds are welcome. We invite everyone to come down to the town, any towns around them. We, publicize it for weeks. And we have about one big tent that's a 20 by 40 where we are under, where the Boston 25 people are under. And then we have sponsors tents, which are about, I'm going to guess about 10 of them. And they're different sponsors that join us every week. One could be Shaw's and they give out food. One could be a realtor and they talk about the real estate in Rutland. One could be, sorry, I'm trying to think of them, Local Gems, which is sponsored by Rockland Trust, but it highlights a local gem in the town. And we usually work with the town manager or plenty of people in town to help us out with, who to interview or talk to. And they're also invited down to talk during the 2-hour show. I don't know if that was a great description, but that was my short version.
No, that's great, thank you. And we've got some documentation here in front of us as well with some of the information as well. Does the board have any questions?
Looking forward to it.
Yep.
I think it'll be great for town and I'm sure it'll draw quite a few here, which will be good for all the businesses. It'd be great to highlight them.
Yeah, I like to see who gets up at 5 in the morning and comes out here for this.
No, you don't have to get up at 5. We just have to show up. You guys don't have to show up until 8 if you want to come at the start of the show, but if you want to be there for the whole show, 8 to 10.
Okay.
Yes, we realize most people don't want to get up at that hour or the 3:30 when we arrive in the pitch black.
You said we had talked about July 24th. Is there any potential movement of that date or is that pretty set?
We sort of have the towns locked in. If you really have a problem, we could see about if another town could switch. If that's a total problem.
No, sorry, I didn't mean to insinuate. I wasn't curious. I just wanted to make sure that if there was, I guess on your part, for us, for all of our planning as well. So
Oh, that was the date we would like.
okay.
Jen, if I may, I was just gonna add, so our office has been working with the staff and we've provided them with contact information for the different folks that they're looking to get in touch with in town. We've also provided them all of the permitting information that they'll need for getting the tent and reserving the town common, things like that. One of the things that
Oh,
they're
perfect.
looking to feature is the hometown hero. And so our office is
Yep.
gonna be putting out a public survey. I've got it ready to go for tomorrow. So we're gonna get feedback from the residents, as to who they would like to see featured as the hometown hero. So we can reach out to them, see if that's something that they would like to participate in, and then get that information back to Boston 25.
Awesome, that's great. Thank you, thank you.
Thank you so much. I didn't realize you were that far ahead already.
I know. All right, any other questions, comments from the board?
Nope.
All right, then I think for us, it's just a matter of confirming that we are wanting the office to continue to work with Boston 25 on it. So I'll entertain a motion to authorize the town administrator's office and any relevant staff to work with Boston 25 News for the Zip Trip segment.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion? Roll call, Alex.
Second, aye.
Wait a minute.
Matt's and I.
And Ledger, aye. Thank you very much. We're all very excited to see
Awesome.
this out. We appreciate you being available tonight.
No worries. Thank you so much. Look forward to working with you all.
Thank you. Have a great evening.
Have a good night.
All right. I'm going to jump back up to the top of our agenda for our interboard communication meeting. This evening, we have Charter Committee. We have Chair Chris Senecal and I believe Vice Chair. Nope, just
me.
Michelle Campbell.
Just me.
Here with us to talk through everything this evening. So there's a couple things of documentation in our packets. What Heather's been doing for these communication board meetings has been going through using our lovely AI tools that we have just to kind of generate a summary of meeting minutes. So the board has kind of a high level summary of what's been going on based on the minutes. And then we of course have a draft of the charter as well, which we've had for a little bit. But I'd like to turn it over to you just to kind of, how have you found the committee and the topic and how everything's been going and
Sure, well, approximately 15 months ago, we started out last January. Nine members total, 7, just town people. There's a member of the planning board and Leah's been on it, a member of the select board, Leah's been on the committee with us. Great group of people. It's a really good cohesive group. Quite some, just it's been a pleasure working with all 7 as well as the members of the planning board and select board who are there. But just for all 7 of us to come together and it's been a great group of people to work with. Extremely hardworking. We've made some pretty good time working with Attorney Anthony Wilson and his counterpart Becca Meekins. They were great from the Collins Center, right? Yep. They did a great job working with us, guiding us. Anthony's done a lot of charters in a lot of different towns, and this is his thing. So we thought it went pretty well there altogether. We had a couple different sessions. Well, we met with the town administrator, the previous town administrator, before he had sent his resignation, and he worked with us early on last spring, late winter, springtime right away. In that section of the charter, we've worked with the finance committee. We've had 2 public sessions. We did one when we got halfway through the charter before the little summer kind of break. We had a session with the town, put it out there. Tamika was instrumental through the whole way, helping us out, getting a survey out there. Had feedback, had a town meeting with people, put a survey out there and received their input. Went through the charter again, kind of took what we thought were good ideas and some other things that we'd already discussed and, now we're gonna leave it the way we have it. And then we did the same thing upon completing the charter, or the draft charter, I should say, at the end of this year, just a few months ago. And we sent it out to the town for a survey just recently. Got some good feedback from some citizens and some people within the town administration. So that was good. It had a small, very public session. It was a public one, the last meeting we had a couple weeks ago. A few people showed up for that, got some input there. So we sent it off to you folks a few weeks back. Asked town council to review it and make sure there's all legal matters are legal. Make sure there's nothing going on there. And we did that prior to finishing, the final rendition of the draft. you know, with the time frame, I didn't wanna lose ground here, and I didn't know how much time they were gonna take to review this. So at least if we got them, you know, the 98% complete version, if there's any amendments, anything we change, we'd run that by them and you as well, prior to the town meeting, but that was our goal, is to get this on the town meeting for this May. For the town to have discussion, review it, and vote on it. And,
I was gonna say, if I may, I think, Michelle, you have done a really good job highlighting kind of the big level, not changes, but just structural. I think I don't know if you wanna talk about it, I just kinda wanted to highlight the things like, I know we didn't really change the form of government, we talked to the moderator, we spent a lot of time talking to the moderator early on, kind of use this as really should be a constitution for the town, a broad constitution, and to document the way we do things, because we all have the kind of public historical knowledge of the way we do things, but as town continues to grow and more people move into town and become involved, we wanna make sure that there's a structure outlined as to how we as a town want our government to function. So we did take a lot of the input from the folks currently involved in those roles, to learn the historical piece as well as, and I think the big things, Michelle, if I remember, one of the big things was, and this came out of a lot of the public forums and, public questions and recommendations, as well as what's happened historically, is, proposing to change planning board from a 5-year elected position to a 3-year elected position. They would remain elected, but they would become a 3-year term as the other electeds. Part of that came out, we got a lot of public comment about that, as well as the past few years, we've had a lot of planning board members resign or stop attending after 2.5 to 3 years. And just with professional staff, more and more professional staff in place and everything, there is still onboarding that needs to happen, but that onboarding can be assisted with the professional staff, and if people are doing a really good job, they shouldn't have a problem being reelected, as with select board members or board of health members or library trustees or anything.
And it more aligns with all the other elected boards in town.
Right,
Yeah.
and so Michelle, I don't know if you wanna call out any of the other.
One major, I don't even know if I'd call it major, is what we usually have now as the special fall town meeting will turn into an actual annual town meeting. So we will have 2 annual town meetings, a spring annual town meeting and a fall annual town meeting. Those will both be official annual town meetings, which I believe it was budgetary issues can only happen at a certain time, so.
I think I would like to thank Nick for bringing some of this forward through some of the MGL acceptance through treasurer collector and everything. I think I learned that some MGL can only be accepted at designated annual town meetings. And so knowing that historically, since I've been in town, we've had a special town meeting in the fall. And the misnomer of it being called special, people think that that's where funny business happens, when really it's always happened, and usually we use it for free cash allocations and any other business that needs to happen in the fall, but just based on timing. So in working with Anthony and Becca, and kind of from feedback from staff, Nick, thank you for pulling that piece up in just other conversation. We decided to declare the fall an annual also, so the business can happen at both. And the public shouldn't feel that because it's called a special, that it's anything funny going on.
Yeah, it will hold the same weight as the spring town meeting.
As it currently does, it's just a new thing.
Gives the town to react, time to react to things quickly. It's just a good practice and habit to be into. I mean, things in business, things in this world move and change fast, so, the town's set up to adapt and help whatever it is, a zoning change, whatever it may be, something that can promote the town moving forward, it gives you that ability. So we thought it was a good thing for the town. We already did, like you said, you're already going through it now anyways, might as well just make it official and, let's embrace it and use it more.
One thing that was pointed out by the Collins Center was that our current bylaws are so strong, and it made this whole process really easy, because the bylaws were great. They were written well, they're up to date, so it made a lot of this charter is pulling those bylaws into the charter, so that they're codified, they're in place, and it just made it easier for everybody. So, you know, I wanna thank the bylaw committee for doing such an exceptional job over the years.
And a lot of people before the bylaw committee was even here, there's been a lot of people in the town that have put a lot of effort, blood, sweat, and tears sometimes into these bylaws. And it was funny, during some of the feedback that we had early on in last summer, people were very nervous about messing with their bylaws, you know? And they came, you know, with their pitchforks and torches to see what we were doing, what we were touching. And we really just there to say, hey, you did a great job, and now we're gonna lock them in, we're gonna protect them. You know, now, because right now, the bylaw can be changed every year, and this charter, you only be able to change it 5 years from its inception, and every 10 years after that, so, you know, it kinda keeps, again, shenanigans, or whatever you wanna call it, but some of the politics, it just kinda levels some of that out. If it's a good policy and it works for the town, let's leave it in there for the 5 and 10 years.
And we're really not touching any
We're not
of
flipping
the
upside down.
nitty-gritty bylaws, you know, like, the charter doesn't deal with that. It's just is dealing with the governance of the town, not with any, like, picking up after your dog and stuff like that. This is just about governing the town and how the town is structured going forward.
Yeah, and so that's, you know, one of the big things, and sometimes, you know, as a committee, any group of people, you start talking about an issue and you kinda start getting down a little too far into the details, and, you know, Attorney Wilson did a good job, you know, just saying, hey, you know, do you wanna go this far? You know, not a lot of towns do. Think about what you're doing right now, the talk you're having. So he did a great job on pulling us back up to the surface, and we really got good at just maintaining, you know, whenever you talk about job facility, you know, job, like with the town administrator, you wanna leave the flexibility in there for people to do things, you know, within their abilities. You know, we don't wanna be controlling them and handcuffing them, telling them every little step of the way to do things. That's not what we did with this charter. It's not our intention, and we never put anything in this charter like that. We're giving you, the select board, town administrator, all the different departments, the ability to flex and move as they should be to the day-to-day things. We're not involved in that. And we just wanted to maintain that for you folks to be able to have that.
Is there anything challenging about that you came across in your discussions that was a tougher topic? Just curious.
You know, I mean, the planning board, 5 and 3 year, and I don't wanna call it challenging. I think, you know, the committee was, you know, even myself personally, it's it wasn't a hard decision, but, you know, you can see sides for both of it.
Yeah.
You know, again, we got, you know, we wrote Tamika sent a memo to them saying, hey, give us your input. We got it. Even they said, well, you know, we don't really care which way you go, but we do like the 5, but either way is good, you know? So they weren't even like, you know, hard set. So, you know, we researched it with the help of Tamika and Anita. I mean, the reason why we're 5 members goes back to 1947. You know, it was just what they decided some night in 1947. We're gonna have 5 people on the planning board. I mean, there's really no reason why. It's just been that way for that long. You know, and hey, it's worked fine, but you know, in today's world, you know, sometimes you wanna make sure everybody's, you know, active and engaged on it, and with the 3-year turnover, I just think it keeps the ability for the, you know, this was my personal decision on going with the 3-year, I'll just tell you. It just allows the chairman and the rest of the committee to stay fresh and keep it moving forward. And if someone's on there, maybe not pulling their weight or something like that or whatever, you know, let the townspeople speak and get the right appropriate people in there at the right time. So I think it just gives the board a little bit of flexibility. I do see where having the longevity of being there and knowing some of the different committees within the environment, you know, within the government agencies that you're working with, it's nice to make those relationships, right? Helps the town when you have those seasoned people there that know other people in different departments that, you know, you bring to town, they can help you on something, whether it's, you know, conservation or development or whatever it is. It's nice to have those relationships, so those people are warranted and needed. But in the same, you know, to Leah's point, you have the town planner position, so now hopefully that can, you know, that person can get these people to speak quickly. You know, recommendation would be to, you know, anybody interested in being on the planning board, get engaged. You know, don't just make your, you know, your election winning night, your first night you've been on a planning board meeting. You know, go there, get used to it, you know, get up to speed a little bit prior to your election. You know, so that would be one thing we'd recommend to kind of alleviate that and help that out, keep people, the newer candidates, right up to speed quickly.
And people just get reelected on the planning board anyway. So, you know, we have very long-term members on the planning board, which the planning board needs. So that's not gonna change. You're just, you know, gonna have the election every 3 years versus every 5 years. So, you just, you know, if you're doing a good job, you're gonna get reelected, so.
The budget process might have been a
Yeah.
little,
Yep.
that, you know, there's a lot of facets to it. And, you know, we wanted to make sure, you know, we were uneasy about putting some deadlines in there, or dates on that process. But I think Attorney Wilson came up with a good idea of like, all right, well, what's the drop dead date? You gotta have the warrant ready for, you know, ready to get on, you know, to be ready for the town meeting. So we just tried to set the latest dates possible, so that at least from you know, each other, you know what to expect from FinCom, from the town administrator, from the select board. And the other pieces know what to expect as well. So that's part of it. We just tried to put some time in that. And when we met with the FinCon recently, you know, they came up, we had one date in there that we're still working on, to be honest with you. Because one thing we weren't aware of, and it came up great, one of them mentioned it, about how they get information from the school, being a regional district, that comes in late in the game. So the date we had, really, we're gonna give them a little more time, a look at that. So we're waiting for feedback from them, and we hope to get that before our next meeting this Wednesday, and try to help, you know, again, we're here to work with them, you know, mitigate that and make it right for everybody, so. You know, Chief Monaco and his latest thing just came up with, you know, right now we have the town administrator being able to hire the police chief, and he's like, I think it's MGL law that select board has to do that. So that was one of the things, hopefully the town council has some information for us on.
So
We don't
one
know
thing,
those laws.
if I may, from the select board, currently the town administrator bylaw and the charter has that the town administrator appoints staff, department heads. We've gone back and forth in our earlier charter committee meetings as far as for the financial piece, whether it's the treasurer collector or the accountant, at least be ratified by the select board, just so that there's some layer of financial separation there, as well as if the board wanted to appoint, this was a little bit of town council feedback that we'll talk about tomorrow, was ratifying, like, we are perfectly okay to call out that the town administrator is hiring police and the chiefs. However, we can ask the select board ratify. They had said typically there are a few positions that the select board would ratify those. So if we wanted to do like accountant or treasurer collector would be maybe one consideration, and then if we wanted to
So that's
do
the feedback we'd
basic
love to hear from
hire-
them, just on the legality of
Right.
things. Attorney Wilson wasn't,
Right,
you know,
right.
excellent
So-
at everything.
Because we haven't, as a charter committee, haven't met about some of this, so I kind of wanted from select board, what positions would select board like to be ratifying? Because we are okay to call, if MGL states that that the select board hire the treasurer collector, the charter is okay to say that we want the town administrator to do that instead. However, we can also ask that the board ratified, not do a full that's not a full interview, that's not knowing all the applicants and grilling them, it's essentially being presented with their qualifications. And I did ask again for some follow-up as far as these higher level department heads, if that's viewed as hold up for through their application process and hiring process because of the additional time that takes, as well as the political implications sometimes that department heads feel. So that we'll have that conversation. But from a board, I guess, like I said, for me personally, and I think we've talked about this in the meetings, I was thinking at least either the treasurer collector or accountant, again, for that financial, that the board would ratify, not both. And then if the board would like to ratify the fire chief and police chief, as we have them both as strong chiefs, in their current existing contracts, their performance reviews are currently called out to be done by the town administrator, so that reporting structure is already embedded into their
Just in your discussion, I would just caution the board to be careful of, you know, again, like the FinCom is not appointed by you, okay? Because they're that advisory group that tells the people you know, gives us their opinion about it, right? So they're that check and balance to you folks. So again, any position, town accountant, you know, whoever, you know, if they're more of that advisory position for the town people, keeping you folks, this board in check, you know, I'd probably stay away from ratifying those positions and, you know, keeping that the hands-off approach. If, you know, again, that's the approach we took, and that was the approach we were directed to by the attorney, to maintain just that, the best quality of governance, true governance that we could have in this charter. And we tried to do that as best we could, to maintain checks and balances, but yet, again, we wanted to create a position for the town administrator that looks attractive. You know, we don't wanna create this little position where she's just basically a data entry position, you know? You gotta let them come in, do their thing, you know, set their objectives, set the goals, and give them the freedom to accomplish those. And, make the job look attractive to hire people and to bring in the right, best quality candidate we can for the town.
And more, most department heads, many department heads require so many certifications, qualifications, professional,
Yeah.
licenses, everything. So really, the town administrator, head, chief of
Can vet
staff
that out.
person is the one that best knows what is currently required, as well as the outgoing, department heads or whatever. So trying to like empower the professionals to do the work, I think was, and finding that balance.
I kind of agree with Leah that there should be, at least on my consideration for three main positions, that's the town administrator, the chief of police, and the chief of fire. Those three, it seems, survives town administrators. So therefore, something like that, where you have a board that oversees that, and the board will be here, even though the board changes, that should be something that should be dealt with by the board. Whether we approve it or whether we go through the process of hiring it. Those are the three, I think, that are critical for the board to oversee. I just don't want to get caught in where, and nothing against our current town administrator, but we've been through a lot of them. And if they hire, then we're stuck with that police or fire when they're no longer here to deal with that individual. So I think the board needs to be on top of that one, okay?
I believe we have the fire chief, I know, was
Yeah, so,
directly to the select board. We had the police chief as the town administrator could hire that person. And again, Chief Monaco, in his, in just a few weeks ago, in his notes to us, when we put it out there for a survey, he said he believes it's an MGL law that the select board has to do that, which we are not aware of. Attorney Wilson didn't specify that, and that was one of the things we will be looking for town council to, you know, say yes or no, that it is law or it isn't. Because certainly if it's law, you know, I mean, we'll agree with you then,
Yeah.
you know, that's not a question, so.
so can I just ask a question to Leah and Harry? Section 3.5 of the draft charter, section 3.5A3, it lists, is this where we're talking about, it lists who the board shall appoint?
Well, so I think that this is some of the conversation that we need to have at charter based on
Okay.
feedback from legal also.
Yep.
But these are currently, and I would add in here the
The chief of police. Right.
Yeah, but
And you would like to take treasurer collector out of,
actually I was leaning more towards accountant. I don't,
out to accountant, okay.
Nick, Heather, I'm not sure if you guys have experience historic, like in your knowledge, is it generally the accountant that receives ratification by the board if you have two separate, to try to just keep that level of financial fiduciary? And again, it's still not the board doing the actual hiring, it's more the board doing a ratification of one of the two kind of financial strongholds.
I think it depends on your charter and or whatever special act that governs your town, who has the appointing authority for the accountant's position. I will agree that with the chief of police, there is certainly MGL guidance that puts a chief appointment with the select board, again, unless you have a specific special act or charter that designates the town administrator / town manager. But that's certainly something that we can work with KP to define. Whether whether this is the opportunity to make that determination, or if we should leave it with the MGL as our guidance.
And I think this is some of the conversation that we need to have at charter, was that I think charter, based on the bylaws and the conversations from bylaw as well as the charter committee, and I wasn't at all of these meetings because they were some of the previous budget meetings and everything. Charter committee as a whole, I think, felt that they wanted the town administrator to be the chief hiring officer, and kind of not, and I don't wanna say regardless of MGL, but call out that the town administrator is the chief hiring officer. My quick conversation with KP was, that's totally fine, and many communities with a town administrator, larger communities with the town administrator do that. But if the board wants to have that ratification process for select positions, it's generally not the whole list, because then it becomes, again, micromanaging of the town administrator. So I think that the charter can absolutely, despite what MGL says, still entrust an individual to do it, however, what that process looks like.
With the ratification, as you said, by the select board, the town administrator could be empowered to do the recruitment interview process and
Bring
bring
forth.
forward candidates for final determination by the select board. And I believe that the accountant's position is another one that has specific MGLs, unless otherwise called out in a special act, which your charter would be a special act.
Previously, it was done by search committee, okay? And I was on the search committee that took part in hiring a DPW director, a fire chief, and a police chief, okay? So we went through all of the applicants and chose applicants for the board, and that was brought up to the board, and they made a final decision on who they wanted to hire. So, but we did basically the legwork at that point in time, and procedures have changed since then, but so far, 3 of the people that we hired or recommended to the board, 2 of them have retired and 1 of them is still in service.
So I think that's,
So it's still some things to follow up on and to clarify.
Sure.
And that's your.
And I think the way, well, first of all, the section on the appointment powers of the select board were pulled straight from your bylaws. So that, first of all. And we did, the general law sections are listed there, so definitely we can talk about the police chief, to add that. I just want to make sure that we're clear on what we're talking about, because we do say the board or is
Or it's
designee,
designated authority.
which
So-
would be the town administrator, and then in the town administrator section.
So excuse me, but to
Yeah.
Paul's point, you can hire a search committee, you can tell the town administrator,
Right.
your designee, however you wanna go forward with that, again, we're leaving that flexibility.
Yeah.
But ultimately, you would hire, you would have to say that this person is hired or not, not that search committee, so to speak, right? They bring maybe 1 or 2, 3 candidates to the board to final, go through, so. And the same thing could be done with the town administrator.
Right.
For certain roles.
And section 5(4)E, which is the appointment powers of the town administrator, sort of lays out who specifically the town administrator is responsible for hiring, except where the select board intervenes.
Yeah.
So I just want to make sure that
So
you've
again,
seen that.
In the effort of
packed.
flexibility, we're trying to leave the board, the town administrator, a potential search committee, trying to leave you that flexibility to do how whichever 5 select board members are here, how they wanna do it for whatever position they may be looking for. Certainly there's different paths for different positions that you go to. It's really, again, we're not trying to set something right down in stone that a police chief is hired, this is the process, the select board or its designee. So again, you're still meeting MGL if it's the police chief, okay, cause you gotta finally say it, but some of these people can do the legwork for it. And again, and the other thing that we talked about that Attorney Wilson brought up is that from a town administrator's point of view, and when you're hiring a town administrator, sometimes we often have to do, it gives them an opportunity to almost debate and negotiate with you, you know, all right, these roles, it's designee. Do you see me doing these roles for you? You know, what will my role be in this position, hiring an accountant, town accountant, or, you know, someone on that, a police chief? You know, how will I assist you? How will you do it? You know, so it gives them a good idea and area to understand the role and the position that they're gonna be responsible for, and is this a good fit for me? You know, is this something I wanna do, or no, I wanna be the one to do it all, you know, so to speak. So, again, no surprises, you know, and I think when you vet people out right and you prevent most of those surprises, they stick around for a while, you know, and it's a good practice to be into, so. Again, I'm trying to leave it open for both people, not just, you know, the existing people, the town, the select board, but the future position holders of these too.
And that's the other, I just wanted to follow up, I know we wanna wrap up a little bit, but we really, the committee really, and Chris really pushed us to kind of take all the individuals, former current individuals out of the equation and really look at the positions, as the positions and move that forward from a trying to future-proof a little bit. And so I think Chris did a really good job pulling us all in, of, you know, guys, this is, there may have been bits and pieces of challenges here or there, but how should it work? Or how do we want it to work?
I think at the end of the day, you know, Tamika was instrumental in helping us connect with the town. We were moving pretty fast, and we had a lot of assistance there. Leah did a good job trying to connect with you guys and everything, and with the planning board. And I really feel that this is the town's charter. You know, us 7 and 9 might have done the legwork here, but we've got a lot of good feedback from a lot of different people. The people that wanted to be engaged got engaged. They were heard. You know, their mark's on this. And I know, you know, you'll have legal counsel going through things, and everybody's gonna have their opinion of this, but you know, what we're presenting to you now and what we hope to be for the town meeting, this is the town's charter, the townspeople of Rutland. And that's something I think we're all proud of on this committee, that it's not just, you know, one or two people's thoughts here, and, you know, we did the best we could over the time frame we had to get every opinion and everybody, you know, thought, and gave them a chance to speak their mind, write it down, whatever you want, and put it down, so. And we considered it all,
Oh, yeah.
you know, so.
I certainly appreciate that
Yep.
very much.
So.
Sure.
My recollection of what we did for a recall seems to be different than what I see here on the recall petition.
If I may, the recall petition was literally the special act that's working its way. I think, I'm not 100% sure if it's been finally approved yet, but it's the draft that's been working its way through the exact language. They pulled that off the MGL, the Mass State site that we approved, that the voters approved at the
Didn't we have 2 points though? One was 10% of the town, and the other was going to be a minimum. It was the next step for doing that. We had two things we looked at there.
If you have any documentation, if you wanna send it and email it to me, or get it to Mika, she'll get it to us before our next meeting this Wednesday, Harry.
Okay.
Love to consider it and review it, and
All right.
make sure we got the T's crossed and the I's dotted, but
Yeah,
I'm-
it's-
we were on the assumption we took,
I think
it's
it's
just
here.
exactly what Leah said. I don't know that it's been approved, but we just took that language and like, put it around it, cause everybody just voted for it. We weren't mixing that recipe up.
I
No,
think
no.
it's
You know?
in here it's in section 11.3 under the clerk certification. Said recall petition shall be returned and filed with the clerk within 21 days following the date the lead petitioner was notified. And shall be signed by not less than 10% of the qualified voters of the town as
Right.
of the town. So I think it is in
That's in here?
Yes.
Okay, I
Yeah,
thought I didn't see it, thank you.
Yep, so it's
What
Like it's
section is
just
that under?
That's in 11.3 under clerk
11.3, yeah.
certification.
And I don't think the charter committee really looked at this because it's a special act that was just approved at
Yeah, there was
the-
not much discussion on that.
at the-
That was
just
the
took
piece I
that-
was talking about.
Yep.
Oh, okay, yeah,
Yeah.
we took the whole thing,
We
just popped it in
Anthony
there.
and you, we just took that thing and
Yeah.
like, hey, everybody just voted for that, we weren't messing with that.
Okay.
That recipe's good enough for us, you know.
And we did ask Collins to go through all of any other special
Yes.
acts that were relevant to this. I mean, the RDIC stuff, the height stuff is special act, but that's not
Yep.
charter special act, so
Yeah.
that wasn't, so we did ask if there was any other pieces of that. Some feedback that we did get is just about the transition piece, obviously, there is a transition time frame. It's a process set up, and it is called out in the charter that the current town clerk position is elected until the current town clerk is no longer the town clerk, and then that position becomes appointed. That we had some questions as to why that language was in there, and it's in there because that's part of a transition at some point. We don't know when the charter will be approved and when that town clerk transition may happen. So we need to have document in there that reminds anybody looking at it, and then that would probably be one of the things that if it's not relevant in 5 years, would be.
You just
but I-
remove it
but
in
I
5
think
years.
But I think because it's in the transition, it would automatically fall out anyway.
I think you're right, Leah,
It
yeah.
doesn't-
Yeah, that
it
section
doesn't
Like a
stay
lot of that
so.
stuff just comes right off anyways,
Right,
that's
it
right.
doesn't stay, we intentionally didn't put it in the charter because it's a transition, so.
That's right, I think you're right, now, that's a good point, yep,
I
very good
just
point.
wanted to bring up
All that just gets taken out anyways after that 5 years.
Yeah.
And that might have been realistically, other than recalling of the special acts that are overruled now by the charter, that may have been the only thing in the transition section that is even,
Like something different.
yeah,
Yeah.
other than standard boilerplate
Just
language.
stuff, yeah.
Chris and/or Michelle.
Mhm.
You highlight here, there are three main benefits that communities get from a charter.
Yes.
Number two, flexibility. There are things that the town is not allowed to do under state law that may be permitted in the charter. Could you elaborate on that a little?
Yeah, so in this charter, we got all the tax revenue going to Michelle Campbell here, 'cause we put that in there, yeah. It'd be nice, wouldn't it, wouldn't it be nice, yeah, yeah, no, so, alright, here was an example that was given to us during the charter process. There's some towns way out west, population very, very small, in the hundreds. State law says 5-member board for select board, they can only get 3. Okay, you can put that in your charter, it gets approved at the State House, you're okay. You know, the town of Washakem somewhere can have just 3 select board members on their board. So that would be an example of something you'd wanna change due to your circumstances, due to, topography, due to population, due to certain outlier circumstances that could affect it, okay? And now, and I guess, to answer your question, cause this has been asked before, technically, you can put anything you want in that charter and see if it gets approved, right? I mean, people are people and they do what they do, right? That's not the approach this committee took, I can promise you that, okay? But that was one of the examples, cause we really, it's like, why would someone do something like that? But that was
I'm
just
trying
one of
to
the
think.
examples that we were
We
told,
have state law,
right?
federal law.
Like, what are you going outside that
How do
for?
we supersede that?
Yeah.
Well,
That's
you,
why-
When that
the
becomes a
charter,
burden-
the charter can, the charter, when it comes to the town government.
Yeah.
When it comes to how the town runs its own government, that's where the charter can supersede state law. It can't supersede, I have a whole list, property tax, civil rights, state zoning, open meeting law, public records. It's only having to do with town.
Governance.
Governance,
Okay.
that's all.
And any strain or
And we-
difficulty.
So like things like appointing of the police chief or any of the appointments, we can override what general law says if we find that's in our power to do so, in the benefit of our town. But mostly it's,
Exactly, you'd have to
things like-
justify,
yeah.
what your purpose for doing this is, but,
you know.
And again, if there's, you look at, a city like Boston and you take, some of the towns out west, I mean, it's, night and day difference. And it's really hard for every one of the 300 and some odd communities in the state of Massachusetts to maybe meet all the responsibilities the state requires of them, so they give you that. Put it in the charter and we'll let you we'll let it go if we approve it, so.
Yeah, there's a whole list,
Yeah.
governing bodies, elected officials, terms of office, vacancies, powers of the local officials, administrative structure, boards and committee, legislative town meeting structure, so we could do things like that, not any other state laws,
Okay.
oh, just governance.
Yeah, based on my governance point of view, okay?
Any other questions for Chris and Michelle?
That was it for me.
Thank you for being
Thank you.
here. And
Yeah.
We're looking forward to your updates, and if there's anything that you need feedback wise, or just please communicate with the office and we'll get whatever we need to. before
There's
the board,
one
but-
outstanding thing with FinCom, I guess, we're supposed to be working with you guys and FinCom on some date issues.
That's the one that I've
Yep.
been reaching out to them,
Okay,
and they should have that for us for Wednesday night.
yeah,
hopefully.
but otherwise, we should be on the town warrant as placeholder, is that correct? Yep.
Yep, we can have it.
And we're ready to go with that once we get the little nitty gritties worked out. And
It just a, I think, again, this committee's been unbelievable, and Michelle has been an absolute rock star. Awesome, she's done an incredible job. If I could say anything, if we had someone from the bylaw committee, it might have helped, like,
Right.
or having someone like, why are some of these bylaws the way they are? Because, some of the people in this town are very passionate about those, and they know a lot about them, and we have our own bylaw committee now, and so that perspective, I think, could help the next charter committee you do review in the next,
I was gonna say, if
year,
you-
so
if it gets
just
to the
from,
point of
no,
review,
again,
it's good
no
feedback.
regrets with what we have, I mean, the way these, the seven of us, without, obviously, Leah and then the planning board members had to be there, but the way the seven of us, everybody worked together, phenomenal, great group of people, and again, she's by far, she's just been awesome to work with, but anyways, that was the only thing I would recommend for the next group,
Oh, that's
just to, for what it's worth.
We'll certainly have
And
that.
there will be a bylaw, I'll have to be appointing a bylaw committee, a subcommittee of
transition.
transition bylaw, committee, but
That's
that's
all.
on
I
you.
meant.
That's it, so.
Well, thank you.
All right, thank
Appreciate
you.
being here.
Thank
Appreciate
you.
everything that
Thanks.
you've
Have a good
done.
night.
All right, I'm gonna jump around a little bit for people that we have, under old business, I'm gonna go back to our health insurance topic. We had this on our meeting last time to go through what, it was before us for consideration and approval for, insurance, and there were some questions, so we have, Brian Boyle, our consultant, on Zoom to help assist with any of the questions, that the board had. We will need to decide how to move forward with the insurance this evening. But I will, if I could, just, I guess, open it up to the board for any of those outstanding questions that we wanted to review with what was presented, or anything for future consideration as well.
I guess I have one question, and that is, how many healthcare organizations submitted quotes to us for insurance?
Nick can answer that.
Nick,
One,
just nobody else?
Maya declined, Blue Cross declined.
That was it? Wow. And where does that 18% increase fit in Massachusetts in terms of health insurance rates?
I can let Brian speak to it, but I recall at the IEC meeting, typically on trend, they were seeing anywhere 12 to 13%
Was average.
yes.
Did we have a lot more claims that jumped us up to 18? Okay. And what kind of claims were they, if you can? Can't speak. I mean, were they accident claims? Not,
Can't speak.
can't speak about that?
We use our insurance,
You wouldn't even be able to see that.
no.
No,
Yeah, they don't have access to any of that.
No.
Which is on purpose.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Interesting. So we're a town that has a lot of problems when it comes to healthcare. We can put it that way.
What was the loss ratio? Do we
That
know?
wasn't shared with me. I'm not sure if Brian has that information, the loss ratio.
Yeah, so because the size of your group is under 99 employees, Harvard Pilgrim doesn't share loss ratio information. You guys aren't completely rated just based on your employees and subscribers' health insurance utilization. Um, Actually, if I could, would it be helpful for me to just give a little bit of background, not only about what happened this year, but some context to go to the question for what other parts of Massachusetts are seeing?
That might help.
Yeah, please.
I know you've already been through this, Nick, but
No, I know, yep.
you know, that would help.
Sure. So I'm going to just do a quick recap of some history. So before 2015, for a number of years, the town of Rutland was part of the Massachusetts Interlocal Insurance Agency Association, so the MIA Group Purchase, which is an aggregation of many municipalities, and they basically operate overall on a self-funded basis, but individual groups get individual ratings within that. So Rutland was with Maya for a number of years. Then in July 2015, facing a pretty significant increase, Rutland moved over to Fallon, which at the time was operating in the municipal healthcare market. It no longer is. But Rutland was with Fallon from basically 2015 to 2019. And during that time period, there were no changes to the plan design. And so basically, if you looked at Rutland's plan, there was no deductible overall and relatively low co-pays for things like office visits, a hospital stay, prescription drugs. Then in 2019, I think Fallon was coming in with almost a 15% renewal. The town went out to seek competitive proposals. Maya offered the best deal, which was a 0.5% rate change. So then the town went back to Maya for a couple of years, but then faced again with a pretty significant premium increase. That's when, for the first time, the town made a significant change to the plan design, and you implemented a pretty small deductible. It was like a 250 for individuals, 750 for families. And that was back, I think the year after COVID, 2021. Then a couple years later, got another hefty renewal from Maya. We went out to the marketplace. The most competitive proposal was from Harvard Pilgrim at that time, but the town also changed the plan design again, and that's when you implemented what is basically the current plan, which is $1,000 deductible for individuals and a $2,000 deductible for families. And so that plan design has basically been in force since July 2023. And the renewals that you've seen the past couple of years were based on that plan design. So that's just a little bit of history about Rutland's plan. I wanted to share a little bit of context because I had an opportunity to watch the last select board meeting, and I know there were some questions about sort of group purchases or consortiums. So I mentioned Maya already, which is by far the biggest consortium in Massachusetts. And we did seek a proposal from Maya, but as Nick mentioned, they're not accepting any new business from any municipalities for FY27. And I think part of that is due to the challenging financial constraints that are on them right now. Another consortium that also is not accepting new units is the Hampshire County Group Insurance Trust, which has about 70 plus municipal units. The reason why I mention them is because in the past 12 months, that group trust has had 3 premium increases, an 18% increase last July, then a 20% increase in October. They actually had to do an increase mid-year. And then again, they're facing a 16% increase for this July. And the only reason why I'm bringing that up is that as sort of difficult and financially challenging it is to hear about Rutland's increase, it's not uncommon with other Massachusetts communities right now. And so the 73 units of Hampshire County have seen essentially high double-digit increases, 3 of them in the past 12 months. And then the last thing that I think is just helpful for comparison is to look at the health insurance rate in absolute terms. So with your HMO plan, which is the majority of where all your subscribers are, once this new rate is put into place as of July 1, your individual total monthly rate will be $1,238. The GIC, the Group Insurance Trust for Massachusetts, its top subscribed HMO plan will have a rate of $1,231 as of July 1. So just about a $7 difference. And the reason I'm mentioning that is because the Group Insurance Commission services municipalities and state employees across the entire Commonwealth. But in absolute terms, the rate of the plan that they have for that HMO is actually barely different from the rate you would be seeing in July 1. And it's just kind of a reality check in terms of how much healthcare inflation is hitting everybody. So that's a little bit of scene setting. And then I guess the only thing that I would add is we did present to the IAC a couple of variations in plan design for them to consider. One would have been to change the deductible to like 1,500, 3,000, but that would have only brought the premium increase down to 16%. So it's not a particularly huge savings. So instead of an 18.9, it would be a 16% increase. If you doubled the deductibles from 1,000, 2,000 to 2,000, 4,000, the overall rate increase would be 13.2%. And I think the IAC's recommendation was to stick with the current plan design because I think they were concerned with an increase in out-of-pocket costs for the members. So I know that was a bit of a mouthful, but I thought it might just be helpful to give some of that context. And again, I'd be happy to answer any specific questions.
I just wanted to say thank you, Brian and Nick, for watching the meeting a couple weeks ago and kind of going through our questions and preemptively answering a lot of them. So thank you, I appreciate that. I don't know, if I may, I know there's a lot of discussion about the GLP-1s and everything. Does our current plan have most of the plans have excluded GLP-1s going into as of the beginning of the fiscal year? Is that the same with this recommendation?
Yeah, that's correct. So both Harvard Pilgrim and Blue Cross Blue Shield in Massachusetts, which are the biggest insurance carriers in the state, have decided to exclude GLP-1s from coverage, basically effective upon renewal.
Thank you.
Oh, and there was one other thing, and I apologize. I think it was Mr. Moffett. I couldn't see who was asking the question at the last meeting about ICRAs. But I just wanted to share with you, I'm actually not aware of any municipal groups in Massachusetts that offer an ICRA. And I think it's because, although you might want to, you could try to confirm this with town council, but Chapter 32B, which all municipalities have to follow, requires municipal employers to offer, quote, group health insurance coverage. And because the ICRA is essentially the individual is purchasing their own health plan, but they get basically a premium subsidy from the employer, I don't think ICRA plans are compliant with Chapter 32B. And when I checked in with Harvard Pilgrim about this as well, they said they did not think so, and they don't have any municipal clients that offer them. But if you hear otherwise, please, I mean, I'm happy to be educated on that, but I don't know that they are compliant with Chapter 32B at this point.
wanted to also add, I was just going back through my notes, the Hampshire County Group and Insurance Group that you had mentioned, Brian, is actually the one, for our own knowledge, that Bay Path is part of, that when they gave their presentation spoke, for a few, previously, up until the most couple past recent years, they've had significant savings on the health insurance side, but now they're getting dinged, and I think Bay Path presented that to us. So I just wanted to call out that I know even in my head I was always kind of like, well, why aren't we going with Bay Path, or Wachusett's always been a different beast because of the PEC and everything. Total separate conversation, but for this, and then but to hear the Hampshire group.
The HCGIT actually was they had to have mid-year adjustments for the past 2 years. I mean, it's been very challenging for the communities that are members in the HCGIT to keep up with the increases, especially as they come after town meetings and after appropriations are made. They really had to scramble. But I think that they've rewrited their ship, and I think hopefully those communities will benefit from that. But yeah, there isn't, I think, to Brian's point, and certainly to Nick's comments, there really isn't a safe place for communities to offer health insurance in a reasonable way, and then also to our particular circumstance where we are not super marketable right now on the open market.
I will say I was disappointed to hear that Maya wasn't accepting any new municipalities or anyone, because at MMA there was a lot of conversation about how to make health insurance more affordable for the municipalities as well as for the state. And so then to hear that they weren't accepting any new municipalities was really kind of a slap to the face. So I understand that they're also experiencing these cost increase, but that's not helpful to the municipalities at all. So thank you for that.
If we can't get our loss ratio, and we have no idea what sickness or illness is, how do we make it better for our rates to come down by encouraging our employees to stay healthier? I guess that might be a redundant question because we can't control the employee, but I mean, does the plan offer wellness programs? Does it offer, programs that help people eat better? I mean, I'm trying to figure out what this plan has that we can help our employees do better if they want.
We can certainly look into the Harvard Pilgrim Wellness options and see what types of materials and programs that they have. I have not had an opportunity to, I don't think I've even registered for the online portal yet. I just haven't had the opportunity, but that's certainly something that we can look into.
Yeah, I do know. So there's fitness reimbursements, and also there's weight loss and diabetes support from a lot of insurance carriers, including Harvard Pilgrim. So members of the health insurance have access to all of those as part of their plan. And I think in particular, again, I don't know how many people within the town of Rutland may have been using GLP-1s for weight loss purposes. But if anybody is in that category, they can reach out to member services at Harvard Pilgrim to try to get access to a support service that can support weight loss in other ways.
Yeah, I mean, the tough part about the insurance market right now, and anyone who deals in this space would know that all it takes is one big surgery to just throw your entire claims out the window. I've been in places where, there's one heart transplant and it's a $2 million swing on your entire costs. So it doesn't take a lot, and the insurance companies certainly protect themselves against that. So unfortunately it's not usually a keeping healthy thing. It's a one big thing causes severe problems in the whole thing. And there's almost nothing we can do about that, right? It's,
Just a question
yeah,
to see,
yeah.
you know? Okay.
Anybody have any other questions for Brian? Okay, so then in front of us, of course, we do have the recommendation from the IAC to move forward with the current plan and the 18.9% increase. So if there's no questions or concerns, I will entertain a motion to approve the recommendation of the Insurance Advisory Committee for the FY 2027 employee health insurance rates.
So moved.
Second.
Any discussion?
Well,
Second, I,
That's an
The dry. And then the second piece of that is that the IAC has also asked the board to consider a request to increasing the employer contribution to the flexible spending accounts. Currently, that's $300 per employee. The request in front of us is to increase that to $1,000. And there are, in the memo here, it's 29 employees, correct?
Yes.
who are currently unflexible?
Yes.
So. I
And that
will-
could change at,
that could change, yeah.
Correct, that
Yeah.
could change.
Yeah.
And just, I know this got said like 10 minutes ago, so I apologize for not recalling, but did the deductibles change at all?
No, I don't believe so.
Same plan
Same
structure,
plan.
1,000,
Yep.
2,000.
and I think I asked this before, this is for the flexible spending FSA piece and not like a total dependent care, total that you need to be using the flexible spending and it's not just a total 1,000 that can get split between flexible spending and dependent care or anything of that.
Yeah, so as of right now, we don't have anyone on the dependent care. When it was originally accepted, it was solely for flexible spending, in anticipation for medical expenses to help employees offset the introduction of a deductible. So this increase is in lieu of the 18.9% that now health insurance is going up. So it's not, if you'd like to see it split between the two, it's certainly something that can be done. But I would think most employees would use it for the FSA for reimbursements of some sort.
I do have a follow-up question. In the discussion, Nick, was there any discussion regarding increasing the employee's contribution amount percentage? You know, from
So that's
whatever it
covered-
is, up 3%, 4% or something?
Unfortunately, that's all covered within your collective bargaining agreements, so we would have to look at that the next time that we look at our contracts. But unfortunately, we're locked in at the 75-25% split.
For how long?
Well, it depends on the agreement, so we just signed a agreement with the DPW, so that would be 3 years, and
Okay.
as the others come up, is something that we could certainly look at.
Okay. Just question.
Yeah.
Thank you.
The cost per pay is per pay period, I'm assuming?
Yes,
Is that bi-weekly or monthly?
that's bi-weekly, twice a month. We do 24 deductions per fiscal year.
So, right now, we're saying that a family HMO, I'll call it the Best Buy, which is the middle plan, is $800 a month to the employee.
I
Is that
don't
correct?
have that. Are you on the town's website right now?
That's how I'm reading it, yeah.
I'm in the packet.
It's the
It's
chart
got like
here.
one pager that summarized the costs of everything.
If you have an
You
office,
might
yeah.
struggle to see this, to be honest, but I'm like, what's that right there?
Correct, yep.
Yeah.
So on that middle plan,
So 410 times
per
2.
pay period, yeah, so $800.
So they pay 25% of that?
No,
That's
that's
all.
the cost of the
That is their
employer.
25%.
That's,
Cause the monthly plan's gonna cost,
In total, it's
3,200.
3,200 for the family. 3282, so they're paying 800.
almost 33.
Oh my god.
Per month.
And I mean, you can look at the PPO, we do have a handful of employees on that.
Yeah, it looks
And
like 3 people on the PPO, which is scary.
500, just under 500. So 1,000,
Which is
almost
actually
1,000
not
a
that
month.
bad, like that's,
If you get one new enrollment, you can take your whole.
yeah, the PPO is always extremely expensive, it's a scary thing to do.
So I think as far as the FSA,
Well, it's 10,000 a year. Sorry, doing math in my
I
head.
struggle going from increasing a $700 increase in when we're already going to have to ask for a budget override, and as expensive as insurance is, I think across municipalities, 25% is becoming more and more rare that towns are covering as much, that smaller municipalities are covering as much as they are. So I'm not necessarily opposed to having a discussion about a somewhat of some increase, but I have a hard time increasing by $700 when we're already facing an 18.9%, which is high. I think I understand originally we were kind of everybody threw 15 to 20% numbers in the budget based on conversations over the summer and the fall, and just knowing the work that, like, I'll call out Wachusett, but the work that the school district has been doing to try to really significantly reduce their insurance costs, I want to acknowledge that we all are experiencing these increased costs. So I just think more than doubling what we're currently contributing, and that's with the 29. What's to say that next year we wouldn't have, given what's happening in the job market for other individuals, that we may have people that need to shift onto town insurance or something, that number is not going to change significantly. This is maybe a little bit of a naive, is our plan set up so that you must be on our health plan in order to participate in the flex spending?
I don't see what, so anyone that's on the FSA, to my knowledge, is on the town's insurance, but there's nothing that requires them, because they're two separate providers. It's not that the FSA is through Harvard Pilgrim. The FSA is currently through Cafeteria Plan Advisors, but there's nothing, because the FSA can be used for, like, if you go to CVS
Right.
and you buy over the counter or something that qualifies in the FSA store that's online, it's not mandatory that they're on the health insurance.
So that's what my question, I think, is alluding to that. Like, I realize that there's a cap as to how much can be, I think it used to be $5,000, an individual or a family couldn't have more than, FSA more than $5,000, but if we're contributing more than spouses, then may we see more people come over to our FSA because we're contributing more.
I think it may be the dependent care you're thinking of at the 5,000.
Maybe.
No, there's a cap on FSA.
What's that?
There's a cap on FSA.
No, there is a cap. It's not at 5,000 though. The cap on the FSA is 3,200. I think it's
okay.
going up to 3,300.
Okay, sorry, it's
Now,
probably dependent.
on the FSA, this is all the employees' money that's going in there? The town doesn't contribute?
The town currently contributes $300.
that's what we're talking about. We currently contribute the 300. The request is to increase that 300 to 1,000.
How much does the employee contribute?
Up to whatever they want, whatever they elect.
Okay. Facing our budget deficit, I have a hard time with that.
I'm on the same page, and I agree with Leah. I'm not opposed to some sort of an increase, but I do have a very difficult time with a more than double, for sure.
I agree.
I mean, I look at it as unfortunately for us as municipalities as well as for employees, we're all seeing significant increases, whether that's prescription drug medicine or over-the-counter drug medicine or over-the-counter other accessories that count towards the flex spending can be utilized for. So I do want to be mindful of, given our budget constraints, but also recognizing that our employees are facing the same challenges that we all are as individuals.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but the only thing that the employees are paying extra for is the premium. They didn't get any more, we didn't ask any more of a $1,000 or 2,000 family. We didn't ask a percentage increase from them. So what did they do that they gave us something and now they're asking for something for us? So I guess I'm confused here. I don't understand. So maybe you can,
Yeah, I mean, I think the general sense of all these types of things are unfortunately the cost of insurance, and I get that it's the same to the town, but the cost of insurance is going up by roughly 20%. So theoretically, you could say that the employee is losing 20% of that in their pay. And then generally speaking, we're gonna give them a 1.5, 2.5, whatever the percentage increase that they're gonna get for cost of living, whatever, is 2 to 3%, right? So the amount that we're going to give them next year probably doesn't even get to the increase in cost that our health insurance plan. Now, the problem there is, of course, that it's how health insurance is right now, and it's the suck. So it's not a good, it's a lose-lose situation, frankly. But we're all experiencing that. Everyone who's in the health insurance market or has health insurance is experiencing the same thing, so.
I sympathize with the employees, I really do. It's not easy out there. Health insurance is a crazy animal. But I think that if we face a budget cut and we agree to do this, and then we have to face a budget cut, we don't take back the increase we gave them. So is it possible that we could put this to a vote after the town meeting to see whether we have the money or not?
Because then you wouldn't have made the appropriation. So, which I understand what you're saying, let's see how the vote goes, and then maybe if the vote is favorable and we have the flexibility within our levy to be able to make this offer. Unfortunately, at that point, you haven't appropriated the money to be able to fund it. And I think just further to the reason that the employees have asked is that they, in addition to the 18.9% increase to their health insurance costs, we're also talking about reducing their hours potentially and lost positions, which means that those who are still remaining and still eligible for health insurance, their workload is going up. And I think it was just a request to the board, perhaps a little higher than what they anticipate the board maybe agreeing to, was that it would be a show of goodwill that they, but I certainly understand the board's position and the board's hesitation. I think that the employees are just feeling the stress of the potential loss of hours, the potential loss of staff, the 18% increase to health insurance, nominal COLA opportunities, if the list goes on. I think that it's out there for discussion. If the board feels that it's a too high of a climb, by all means, people will understand.
Heather, I don't have a problem with the climb. What I have a problem with is asking the town to put in money without mandating they put something in. In other words, we'll put $10 in if they put $5. They need to get a skin in the game. That's what I'm saying.
I think.
So if I may, in order to get the match, they do have to put money. They can't just say, "Oh, we'll take the 1,000." It's a match. So they put $1,000 in, the town puts 1,000 in. They put 200 in, the town puts 200 in.
So in order to get this extra, they have to put the extra in too.
Correct.
Okay, that I didn't understand, so,
I don't think that was said because I didn't know that either.
yeah,
So,
okay.
to be fair.
And I see it, I mean, honestly, we're not talking about hundreds of thousands of dollars here. Even if we add an additional $100, that's $29,000, right? Or 2,900, excuse me, I can't math today. That's $3,000 if we even just give them an extra 100. So to me, this is a small investment in our employees that we are having a hard, difficult financial times. Whatever we can do to help them hopefully decide to stay with the town, to me is a worthwhile investment. Like I said, I don't think I'm comfortable going to that full 1,000, but I am certainly willing to entertain a lower number.
What,
I mean, now that I know, they have to contribute, it's a dollar for dollar, right? So they put in a dollar, we put in a dollar, up to the maximum that we agreed to here. How many employees do we have that aren't on it, do you know, that don't use the FSA?
Over 50?
Over
Well,
50.
Yeah,
So it really doesn't, it only benefits about 30% of the town then, because the other ones aren't using it.
And that could change
benefit
also.
eligible,
Yeah.
yes.
I think it'll change, but not 100%. You might get a few more that'll do it, but I don't think you're gonna see 50 people all of a sudden extra kick in. So I guess I'm saying that I have no problem with an increase, as long as we know it's there, and the increase, because we have to think about the town too, not just the employees, they're valuable to us. But we gotta get this budget passed, and we have to think about the town, so. I mean, I guess I don't have a problem with 100, like maybe your reasoning, but as long as they put in the 100, then I'm okay with it.
That, I just threw out that number, I didn't wanna.
No, but I don't think
But
500 is
I'll-
gonna cut it, you know, I think that's,
does anybody have that would be in support of increasing this, have a number that they would like to throw
can I
out?
ask a question real quick?
Sure.
The current monthly cost for that middle plan that we were just talking about, though, it's going to 410 or 820 a month. Do you know what it was prior? I mean, I could do the math, but 18% less
If
of
you
that
go on
is
the town's website,
it on there?
under
Yeah, I'm
human
not-
resources.
I'll do the math, that's easier.
I think I can answer that. You were asking for the family plan where
Broad.
the where the employee share is going to 820.
Yeah,
What was it before?
yeah.
It has been 690.
That would be the monthly?
Yeah, the employee's monthly share of the family HMO plan is 690 and 13 cents.
So that's going up $120 a month.
I should know that since I'm on it.
I don't know what mine are, well, we're different, but I wouldn't have known either, but I promise you, it's,
I was thinking if
Jesus,
The-
that's 12
if the town is currently contributing $300, the ask is up to, and the ask from the IAC is 1,000. I was going to throw out 500, so an increase of 200 over what we are doing now. But that was just where I, like, even when we talked about this last meeting, when I kind of was like, the 1,000 is really hard to swallow. And I, even the 500, but I think that an increase of, allowing the potential for an increase of up to $200, is.
I think that would be really well received as an acknowledgement that, to Alex's point, it's $120 a month out of somebody's paycheck. And granted, the town's share is certainly significant also, but the $200 I think has more impact. Its impact is more about morale and more about the acknowledgement from the town than it has to do with the actual financial bottom line. Does that make sense?
Yes. Yeah. I would agree with your suggestion.
I guess I'm having a hard time when we talk about rewarding the employees, making sure we take care of them. When we just went through a whole wage increase and a reevaluation of wages, where most of them got increases in their wages.
That hasn't gone into effect for FY '27, so.
Well, I'm saying it is, but this is under going forward for FY '27 too.
Well, what you did with your wage and comp was more of a wage adjustment that made up for a portion of your employees, basically those that are not part of a CBA, that have missed increases over the years. Their wages and their salaries have not been addressed consistently like you have addressed wage increases in your collective bargaining agreements. So this was a comprehensive wage adjustment, and I think that those that were receiving a larger percentage, that was really more indicative of how far behind those particular positions had fallen. So I think that your wage matrix exercise was appropriate and certainly helps you maintain some core positions that were dramatically under salaried.
I agree it was important. I agree, but I have to come back to the fact that we have to pass a wage, an override. And the town right now doesn't have an appetite, a lot of them, for those. So to add this to that, to even $200, now we're talking what? 6,000, 7,000 a year increase? When we're not even funding some positions that we have that we should be funding. So therefore, I have a hard time with that. I really do. If we're gonna help the employees, we should be funding positions. So, that's all I'm gonna say, that's enough.
I just wanna do a time check, it's 10 minutes to 8 and we still have a bunch to get through.
Yeah. I'm done.
Is there anybody that would like to make a motion?
I would make a motion that the board increase the town contribution to the FSA from $300 up to $500 in the current, continuing the current matching as has been happening
For FY '27.
for FY '27.
We have a motion, is there a second?
I'll second him.
Motion is second, any further discussion? Roll call, Alex?
Vote aye.
I would have voted yes for 100, but I have to decline on 200. The answer is no.
Moving on.
Paul?
Mattson, nay.
Ledger, aye. Motion carries. All right, I'm going to swing back to the top of our agenda. Is there anybody here for public comment?
Sorry, can I just thank Brian for
Oh, yes,
being
I'm
on.
sorry, Brian. Thank you for being here. We appreciate you being available for all of our conversations. Thank you, Leah.
Sure, no, of course, it's my pleasure. Nick and Heather know how to reach me. Just wanted to mention, I actually serve on the select board in my town of Bolton, so I feel your pain. We're all going through. We had an override last year, so best of luck to you and have a good rest of your evening.
Thank you very much. We appreciate it.
Okay,
Thank you,
take care,
Nick.
bye-bye.
Thank you, Leah. Appreciate
Yeah,
that.
sorry.
Hi, I'm Irene Congdon. I am your Municipal Assistance Coordinator with Mass DP. I'm just gonna give you an update. You have a technical assistance grant with me with Mass DP for regarding trash and recycling contract. We've been doing this for 3 years, believe it or not, it's been a while. We did the 3 towns, we looked at different things of options. We did a survey with the town and you had 78% of all 3 towns of 5,500 households. Of the 3 towns of Hubbardston, Princeton, and Rutland. And altogether, 78% of the participants said they wanted a town curbside program because prices just keep on going up. There's no control, there's no nothing, everybody's just on their own. And we just even had it in January that their trash just went up 100, not a month, just a year, but it still impacts everybody's budget is a lot, especially if you just have a grocery bag and just have to keep on paying $800 a year for trash. We put out an RFP, you guys had town council review it. The negotiations happened between the 3 towns. I was not a part of the negotiations with Hubbardston, Princeton, and Rutland. And you have like a contract in hand that's waiting for the towns to say yay or nay. So the proposal is a 5-year contract with a set price and set service with no tax money being used. It's a fee, the resident who chooses to participate pays that fee. All households would get the trash and recycling carts. It would be weekly trash and every other week recycling. It would be a quarterly flat fee, which would include the trash, curbside trash pickup, the curbside recycling pickup. The residents could have the option to pay the hauler directly to have bulky items picked up, but you're part of Wachusett Earth Day, so of course they can go there. The towns would do the billing. So that's one of the things we're talking about, going out to contract. You also have, I think, Vadar, we've also talked about that, but we're also, and North Data as being somebody that could help with the billing process of that. And Princeton and Rutland have a contract for disposal contract with Wind Waste, Old Wheelabrator. And so that would have to be paid out of that program. So right now, collectively, just the single-family households, the 5,500 households at $800 per year. Believe it or not, you guys don't pay trash. It's not on your budget. Your residents are paying $4.4 million. $4.4 million collectively your residents are paying for trash. The 3-town contract would be under $600 and would be flat for 5 years. That would be $3.3 million. So you'd save $1 million.
$600 a year.
At 600. It would be less than that though, so I could go through the things. If more people participate, it would be, everybody would get a bill to start. If they choose not to participate, they opt out. But if you have out of the 5,500, if we have 2,001, we will be at, where did I put that down? Is like 540, 570. If we have 4,001 households participate, we'd be at 446 for the year. So what comes up, so economies of scale, it's just like you guys are talking about. If everybody's on their own, they pay a premium. If you combine it, you get the economies of scale, you have bundle pricing, you have a service, you have a contract in hand that you say, hey, you didn't pick me up, I have a contract, you have to pick me up. And because right now, residents are on the bottom of the list, and that's what we had from the haulers saying. Princeton tried now for 5 years, and talking in the did an RFP twice on their own, and they said, you're too small, we won't give you anything. It's like, we'll make $800 off of you per household, why would we wanna go smaller? We need to talk about an enterprise fund, but it was said that originally Rutland was gonna be, when we were talking with Austin, that he said, yeah, we'll be the lead, but I know because of your financial issues and you're going out and hopefully getting your override, we said you weren't gonna be the lead at this point. So Princeton and Hubbardston are still discussing who wants to be the lead. And that's, the next path is, we have a contract on the table. We have the Wind Waste disposal contract with the 2 towns. Rutland and Princeton put their money aside and put over $20,000 to help move this program forward, to help with education and getting billing starting and things like that. We need to work on an intermunicipal agreement. And so this is where we're at. The goal would be, get this, we have a contract that there's no tax money being used. Let's, if we keep on waiting and we kick the can again for another 3 years, the price is just gonna be higher.
Who's the disposal contract with?
Because
It's still an open contract. I don't know if it's allowed to be said.
You mentioned Wind
You
Waste?
have a wind waste disposal contract.
okay.
That's what,
If I may, also, I just wanna remind, this is public comment, so I don't wanna get into board
Yeah.
deliberation on this. This is more just a status
this is just to
update.
tell you what we need to
No,
do.
you didn't have to give me a name. I just wondered if we had anybody in the system yet. You said, no, okay.
So we went out to bid.
It's still out for RFP.
We went out to bid, but we have not been able to award that bid because we still have a lot of outstanding
Yes,
Issues.
yes.
pieces of the overall puzzle that we have to have in place before we can move forward.
So I think the next thing would be is if we can have a joint meeting. I was hoping to get on the agenda today and then just scheduling, so it just didn't work out. But if we have a Board of Health and Select Board meeting of Rutland, and I already met with Princeton. And then I'm hoping to have another meeting shortly with Hubbardston's Board of Health and Board of Selectmen.
I know one of the, if I may, Jen, I know one of the big things from residents is the cost, obviously, and the teeth behind getting help if their trash or recycling isn't picked up. But also just the wear and tear on the roads and the benefit of having a single hauler throughout town rather than having, I think we're currently up to 4 or 5 haulers
Yeah,
throughout
4,
town on the same road multiple times.
Yep. And it still won't change because people have the choice.
Right.
But it would definitely bring it down is we have a contract and you say, hey, this is one rate, then people still can choose, but they're gonna pay a premium. It won't be
And it's a
4
rate for-
haulers down every single
So
haul.
it's an opt-in or opt-out?
They would be, yeah, everybody would get the first thing and then they'd opt out and just say they have a hauler.
Okay.
And
And
Yeah,
there's
so it's
no
still
cost-
choice. It's a flat fee. You have a choice.
Okay.
And we were told by town council that you could do a 5-year contract. There's no money being used. So the select board has the authority to sign that. An intermunicipal agreement, you guys have authority to do that. So all of this can be done without having town meeting.
So if I opt out, I don't pay a fee, I just pay my hauler,
Yep.
whatever, okay.
But your fee, if you opt in, the fee is essentially what you're paying for trash. It's not anything,
Right.
it's
Potentially.
yeah.
I mean, some people may have like a full dumpster on their property and they
Right.
choose not to have a
Right,
hauler
right,
because they want
right,
to, whatever.
Yep.
So just reiterating the cost expectations, the most conservative cost or the highest cost, if we had the lowest number of people,
600.
was $600 some odd dollars.
And that's what some of the other towns that already have programs, they've had it for a while. They're now, if with no dollars being done by the taxes, they're at $600. So that's the kind of the going rate for no town support and no reduced trash, like you just have a 64-gallon cart.
So, I mean, I don't know about everyone else.
That's why this is a public comment, so if we wanna bring this back before the board for an agenda topic, I'd prefer to do that.
Yeah,
Before we get into any open discussion on this.
I absolutely would love to have it on. I know it's been a big thing that Rutland had a huge response to the survey when that went out last year. And so I know that there's been a lot of transition within Rutland and within Hubbardston. So I know that some of that's, but I would love to keep this moving forward because I think a lot of our residents, for a variety of reasons, feel strongly about it, in favor of it.
Yeah, so we'll work with Heather and see what we can come up with for agenda
date.
topic and a date, make sure it works for everybody.
Thank
See
you.
if Board of Health can be present as well.
thank
Good
you.
evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
If there's anybody else for public comment. I do wanna just run through updates as quickly as I can. Tomorrow, March 31st, is the last day for residents to get a 2026 dog license without the added fee for those. And excise tax bills are also due April 1st, which is this Wednesday. We had our first info session for the budget, which was that just yesterday?
It was just yesterday, isn't that something?
Just yesterday. And so I wanted to thank Heather for her presentation that she provided, as well as everybody that attended that session. The next one that we have is next Wednesday, April 8th, which is from 6 to 8 p.m. Here at the library. We did have a social media post that went out, but for the public here, the updates on our Rutland Community Electricity Program. Unfortunately, due to the significant increases in electricity costs, which are driven by our current market conditions, the rates that are being offered by third-party suppliers is not less than what is being provided by National Grid. So for right now, we are putting a pause on that program, and about June timeframe, we're gonna reevaluate what those rates are and see if it's a better time to continue forward with the next steps of that program. We had the Community Expo on March 22nd, so I just wanted to thank the events committee for hosting that event, as well as all of the town boards, committees, and all of our local community groups that signed up to participate in that. And everybody, the residents that came out, to visit with all those groups, despite the less than stellar weather there was that day. We have National Telecommunicators Week is going to be celebrated April 12th through 18th. So our dispatchers are going to be featured on the CMRECC Facebook page throughout that week to acknowledge their critical role as first responders. So feel free to check them out and provide words of encouragement, thanks, whatever you would like to say thank you to those first responders. And lastly, just for our residents that live on gravel roads, our DPW will be out to do repairs. We just ask that you have patience as they're juggling multiple priorities, but it is on their to-do list and they will be out as soon as they can to make any repairs. Is there anybody else on the board that has any comments or announcements?
If I may, I would like to reiterate thanks to Heather and everyone that was at the budget hearing, the budget information sessions, as well as the Community Expo Day, the events committee and all the participants. I've been juggling kid stuff, so I couldn't make it, unfortunately. But I appreciate, I know it has made for long weeks and a lot of time and effort by a lot of people, and so I appreciate that, so
Well,
thank you.
The good news is we have several more scheduled, so there's still plenty of time.
They're on my calendar. Thank you, though.
Yeah, absolutely.
And thank you for all the staff. I know that it's not an easy time, and so I appreciate that work as well.
We're all trying to juggle priorities, and I think if everybody gives just a little bit,
Yeah.
we'll get there. Thank you.
I have a question.
Oh, sure, Paul.
Jamaica, did the electric sign miss you, or was there something wrong?
There was something wrong, but the first thing I did this morning with the help of Mark from DPW was open up the circuit breaker box and we reset it and it's going.
I was pleasantly surprised by the number of people who questioned the fact that it was not on.
Very concerned
So
upon
they
my
do see
return,
it.
but I figure
Yeah.
it's up
Okay.
and going now.
I said it probably misses Mom, but you know.
Is there anything she isn't responsible for? Bonkers.
All right, Heather, anything from you on your side as far as updates that you wanted to?
I'm going to only offer one thought for the evening, is that your May 11th meeting, your regularly scheduled May 11th meeting, we want to choose a different date that is election day, and typically boards and committees don't meet on that day. So we don't have to make that decision in this moment, but we'll send out a poll and try to find a alternative meeting date for you. That would be your first meeting post-election, so we don't want to skip it, but we know that we can't meet that day.
Thank you.
And I'm certainly available for questions on any topics. I just don't have a lengthy report, and considering the hour, I don't think anybody's going to challenge me.
All right, Dan, if the board is agreeable, Dan Gracie has been patiently waiting on Zoom. If the board is amenable to going to our annual town meeting, the review and discussion of the CIPC recommendations. Since Dan has been waiting, if we can get him in and then we can finish everything else up. So Dan, thank you for joining us. We do have the report that was provided by the CIPC in front of us. I don't think that we want to go through the entire thing. The board has had time to read this, but if you would kind of take us through your season, any highs, lows, and maybe just a brief overview of the capital projects that the CIPC is recommending for this year.
Sure. So our season started in September. We were a bit in flux at that point. It was, I think, shortly after Austin had left, but before Seth took over as interim. So there was just a bit of, it was a bit more of a challenge in terms of coordinating. We had to coordinate directly with the department heads this year to get our requests, which maybe took a bit longer. But eventually everything fell into place. We met, I think, a total of probably 6 times between September and early March to get everything together, and ultimately ended up with what you see in the report. I don't really see the need to go through that item by item unless anybody has any particular questions. So I might just jump straight ahead to the conclusion. I did want to touch on the makeup of the committee. We did lose a couple members last year, including Harry, who stepped down after a long term as the chair. And we added two new members, so we're now at 4. Still hoping to get that 5th member before too long, but at least now we have 1 to go, 1 spare with a quorum. So things are looking up in that regard. Just jumping ahead to the end of the report, you'll see that we essentially divided into 2 different categories based on the total number of requests it received. In terms of what we would describe as our priority 1 request is the dump bodies from DPW. Director Kolofsky really emphasized this was far and away his most time-sensitive item. It's been through the process a couple times now, and these are really at the end of their lifespan. And he did emphasize these would be transferable. So anytime the town gets a new full-size dump, then one of these bodies can be added on and transferred from the old truck to the new truck. And then the other system is the BDA system at Glenwood. We described in detail there the need for that, but there was something that was considered to be high priority from Superintendent Riley as well as Chief Monaco, and the fire department's Chief Knipe agreed, and Deputy Chief Quinn was able to attend and provide us his opinion on that. So those were really what we consider a priority 1 requests, and then just in order after that were the remainder, which again, we all think to be worthy, but there's quite a bit of expense involved in all of those. And so obviously that all needs to be weighed.
Thank you, Dan. There any questions from the board regarding the report or any of the recommendations?
Hi, Dan. How's it going?
Pretty well, Harry. How about yourself?
I'm doing okay. All the recommendations I see here are from free cash. Did I miss something? Is any money coming out of the capital
Heather.
fund?
So in the warrant, those are placeholders. I'll be working with Nick and Kate and the rest of the finance team to put together a funding package to fund these recommendations. So although it does say free cash in your warrant, that's simply a placeholder number.
Okay.
At your next meeting, when you're approving the warrant, we'll have those recommendations for you.
Okay.
Thank you.
Question answered, Dan. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
Of course. And thank you for making it such a very workable document and a very manageable amount to be funded. Really, on both cases, it's extremely appreciated.
It's our pleasure. Especially
my first year and learning how Rutland manages its capital. It was very it was helpful to have a document that spelled it out so clearly.
I'm gonna save this for you later, Heather, but
Uh-oh.
I know I see Article 28, $700 for water and sewer retained earnings for a metal detector. Don't we use Big Safe, or is this something special?
So I think that is a funding request that would be better located in another warrant article. I'm gonna go through some of those warrant articles and see where we can make up some space. And the metal detector is not a dig safe item. It's something that they would be using more in the field. Not when they're going to be, excavating for, significant water main location. This is more in the field, small stuff.
So before I waste any more time, most of the stuff that you have here, you just put a placeholder of
Correct.
cash in there.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
I won't ask any more questions.
We're please do ask the questions. But I think that seeing them itemized is helpful.
Yeah.
But the final version of that warrant, we will be grouping them by funding source so that they are more manageable for town meeting.
I think I'll ask you for some time this week to sit down and go over this with you.
Yep, sounds good.
Okay.
If
if I may, Dan, I wanna thank you and the CIPC for
Yeah,
putting
thank you,
together
Dan.
this really thoughtful and comprehensive package. It's one thing that sticks out to me is that we continue to be an aging infrastructure community and we have a lot of capital needs. I think you said that the CIPC evaluated had received 13 requests this past year. And I think most of them you felt were very relevant and important requests, and the committee had to do the ranking. So I appreciate that work. I just wanted to call out for all of our knowledge that we have a lot of work to do on all aspects. And I do appreciate the thoughtfulness of balancing kind of town and school and the needs of all of them. So thank you for that.
Yeah, our pleasure. And then we're, in terms of looking ahead, we were thinking maybe at some point, not urgent, but in the spring or summer, maybe we could have a special out of season meeting and Heather could join us and we could just sort of discuss a plan a little further in advance for how we're going to handle next year's requests as they start coming in, say September.
Thank you. And I think I don't know how the number of requests this year compared to the number of requests in previous years. I know I've kind of been vocal in meetings and stuff about encouraging department heads to put requests in regardless of what they think the funding situation may be, because if it's not on CIPC's radar or town administration or select board's radar, then we don't have any documentation of it and it's just gonna continue to kind of waste. So I hope that we can continue that advocacy, that even regardless of what our budget constraints are, that we're at least keeping better track of what the needs are and where they're falling. Thank you.
Yeah, and if they put it in and we can't consider it for whatever reason, it will be beneficial to that request in the future. It's going to score higher if it comes in a later year or two. Each time it gets reviewed, it's going to bump up its score in the future.
Yeah. So thank you for
Thank you.
all of that.
Okay, any other questions for Dan?
Thank you, Dan. Appreciate it.
Yes, thank you, Dan. We appreciate your patience and thank you for being here this evening.
Yes.
Thanks, everybody. Good night.
All right, have a good night.
Bye.
All right,
Okay.
back to the top of our list going down, back under old business, we have the fire and police chief contracts. We had executive session last meeting to review the contracts. Both chiefs were in attendance. The board had no concerns with the contracts that were presented. They have been updated and they're again in line with the language has been aligned with other contracts that we have for all of the consistency that we've been trying to promote with the contracts. So as far as I know, there's been no additional feedback or comments that has been brought to the town administrator on the contracts. So this evening, we are here essentially just to, in open session, approve and sign the 3-year contracts for Fire Chief Knipe and Police Chief Monaco. Are there any questions?
No.
If not, I will entertain a motion to approve and sign the 3-year agreements between the town of Rutland and Fire Chief Seth Knipe and the town of Rutland and Police Chief Nick Monaco.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? All right, roll call, Alex.
Vote aye.
Second, aye.
Women, I
Matt's and I.
And Ledger, aye. Thank you very much. All right, we did the CIPC. Next up, Nick, thank you for your patience. We have the fire department ladder truck borrowing. There's a little bit of info here. If I could, Nick, ask you to summarize for the board what we are looking to do here.
So what we need to do tonight is vote on the useful life for the equipment that will help us determine how long the borrowing should be. So in front of you is a motion to approve 10 years of useful life, and what that will allow me to do is when it goes to permanent borrowing in a note, have it be 10 years. The borrowing can't be more than what you deem the useful life is of the equipment.
Is 10 years the max?
No. 10 years is the figure I used based on our current debt. That would have the least impact on the tax rate to what residents are used to paying.
So 10 years you estimate won't have an impact on our tax rate?
Correct.
but it'll still be within the borrowing available, that it keeps our credit ratings good. So a 10-year, so if we go a 20-year, would that affect our borrowing rate? The
I believe
reason
it
I
would have
asked,
the same
the
impact.
reason I asked, our fire trucks have been 20 to 25 years.
Mhm.
That's what the state kind of mandates as a maximum that you can use. So, would the interest rates be worse or better going 25 years out or 20 years out? I'm trying to think of the impact, I guess, and maybe there isn't one from what you're saying on the individual.
The reason why I
tax rate?
have it at 10 years is because at 10 years, we have some debt falling off from the school construction. And with 10-year schedule, what's falling off from the school construction would be what's getting picked up from the fire truck. Because if we did a 25-year borrowing, it would be less. So where residents have budgeted in their personal lives what they're currently paying for their debt that gets added onto the tax rate, this would keep that status quo.
So it would be
Correct, so you're not less volatility.
Inside or outside?
This is outside, this
Outside,
is debt
okay.
exclusions.
Okay.
Any other questions?
No problem.
Alright, I'll entertain a motion that the useful life of the equipment to be financed with the proceeds of the bonds as described below is hereby determined pursuant to GL chapter 44, section 7, subsection 771.
So moved.
Second.
Any other discussion? Alright, roll call, Alex.
Second, I.
Mattson, aye.
Ledger, I. Thank you. Thank you for being patient.
Only took us 2 years from the approval to get to this point.
Thanks for all your input.
Yes, we appreciate everything very much. Alright, next up is the
Warrant.
election. We need to review and approve the ballot language for the override. So Heather provided us with, a packet tonight. It's got the two for discussion for the FY 27 budget. The first one is the general fund budget with the assessment at, the current assessment, which is the 18,808,703. The second page is the same budget, just with the reduced assessment. Again, that vote is before school committee this evening. So as far as the override ballot language is concerned, we need to just approve the language, as well as the amounts for the ballot questions. And that is, again, we kind of mentioned that at our last, budget meeting, where I think we were pretty comfortable making a motion on the language tonight, just pending the outcome of that school committee meeting, and we can word those appropriately based on that. The other consideration here is, for the board, is to decide if there's a desire to tie the school assessment to the override. And if there is, we would need to approve a second set of ballot questions for that measure. So we would need 6 ballot questions, if that's the desire.
So if I may, my instinct, and I had a little bit of time based on the joint meeting that we had with FinCom on Thursday night to kind of think about this and go over it. For the amount pending successful stuff with the PEC agreement and everything, with the schools, I would be in favor of asking for the reduced amount this year, because it's a true needs-based, and then increasing slightly the asks for the next 2 years, because we know that we're still going to need to hit that mark in year 3, and hope that the voters are seeing that we're asking for a true needs-based and are willing to consider all 3 years, rather than asking for a higher amount that would give us a little bit of extra capacity the first year that we don't have a demonstrated true needs for. My gut is, I have always felt that the school budgets should be tied to the that it should be one, we should be viewing it as one budget. And seeing what it would look like if it were 6 questions versus 3 questions. I am not personally in favor currently of adding the additional 3 questions to tie specifically the Wachusett assessments to the override. I understand the potential need for that. I think with the current administration and the work that they've been doing and providing the detailed budgets and everything, the concerns that there may have been in previous administrations have been very much alleviated. So that's my gut initial kind of after spending some time thinking about it after our meeting, but I'm happy to hear.
I completely agree with everything that you said, Leah. I'd also like to note that what's on here, if you look at the top, Heather had made a note, total 3-year override ask is 5.1 million. We had previously had a 5.4 total, 3-year total number. I just, for transparency, I wanted to call this out because, for year 1 here, where we're talking about, assuming that the regional, assessment is reduced, we're talking about a 2.5 million versus a 3.1 million for that first year. And the difference there being the reduction of the assessment, but also last week when we had talked about the reduction for casualty insurance, which was significantly under what the estimated increase was. We went from a 20% estimated to 8
The
point.
only part of our
Right.
budget that came in underestimated, but yes, it was significant enough that we were able to that, and there were some, if you refer back to the memo that we went through on Thursday, we were able to pick up enough enough ground to reduce our side of the budget as well as the school assessment potentially. I think they have had their vote, and I'm watching for emails.
Okay, good. But to your point, Leah, about really asking for a true needs-based override, I just wanted to be transparent about that 5.4 going to 5.1 as the full 3-year ask, and why that changed. So what's before us, again, if the assessment comes in at that lower number, would be year 1, that 2.5 override, year 2, a 1.5, and year 3 was 1.4, I thought, was that, or was it?
It's on your, it's on the
Stays at 1.1.
2, 3. Oh, yes, okay,
Yeah.
at 1.5 and then 1.1.
Our total ask for both, in both scenarios, because we know
Right.
that the savings that we would recognize from the school assessment is a one-time issue, so we still need the 5.1, which was 5.4.
Right.
We still need that to balance FY '29, so if the net ask is the same, regardless of the FY '27
Right.
amount.
And I'm also, to your comments, Leah, I, especially given the schools, I feel with what they had done with the negotiations on the insurance, that they heard the plight of the towns and took that seriously, and while it is a 1-year cost savings, I mean, it's $425,000, which is a big number for us. So I have a very difficult time, given that show of good faith and that hearing the towns and the financial straits, I have a difficult time tying the school assessment to an override, especially this year, just given those changes that they moved forward. And I agree with you as well, Leah. I think it's part of the overall operating budget. That's my opinion, it should be treated as such for a single.
through the chair.
Sure.
Working on a school budget as part of the overall budget has been a challenge for me because I, as an individual, from what other people at my age say, I've already paid for my kids to go through school with no condemnation to anything. But we don't separate the two out. I can't remember voting for a separate school budget and a separate town operational budget. And if we want to be transparent, which is my understanding of what we're trying to be, then by putting a separate school budget out to be passed and a separate operating budget to be passed is probably the most transparent we can ever be, rather than putting them together. With that being said, the caveat is, if the school budget doesn't pass, and we're the only town to do that, it doesn't matter. So we've kind of raised false hopes for the town that if they don't approve the school budget, but they'll approve the operating budget, they've done something. So although, I like the transparency, I like the openness of it. Lumping it together does hide that. But I think it's easier for the town to make a decision on the overall budget without a conflict. So I guess I agree with you in terms of it shouldn't be separated out, but I feel we're doing a dishonesty to the town by not allowing them to see the school budget versus the operation budget, because we normally don't take it out.
But that's available in all budget documentations.
What?
That's available in all budget documentations.
Not when it comes to voting at a town meeting. It's not.
I think, so every community that I've ever worked in, and you including Rutland, the way you structure your warrant, you're voting your school assessment as a separate warrant article. You vote your operating budget, you vote your elected salary budget as a separate line, then you vote your Bay Path, you vote your enterprise, you vote your Wachusett district. So those are all separate spending categories within your single town meeting warrant. I think that what you're both sort of saying along the same lines is that should we ask the voters, when we're asking them in the general operating in our, I believe it's Article 4, to vote to support a budget that is based upon an override, yay or nay. And then when we get down to the school assessment article, we would have to ask voters that same question. Are we supporting this assessment based on an override, yay or nay? And then as we move forward to the election, you would have to have the ballot questions that mimic those warrant articles. So you would have a question about, you would have the 3 questions to support the operating budget, and then you would have to have 3 additional questions to support the school assessment, if you're making that assessment contingent upon an override.
And I think that would be very confusing.
Yeah, I don't disagree.
And that's why I'm for your transparency,
Yeah.
but I also need clarity.
Yeah.
That they can understand.
Harry, you when you were talking, you made some really good points, because I told in the town meeting we do have it separated out, so there is that piece, but it's where the funding is coming from. But then I think back to, like, if we had funded previously this say last year we had an override and we funded it this way, and then this year Wachusett had the huge realization of all the savings of the almost $500,000 in savings because of the way we have the funding worded. That wouldn't be able to help us on the municipal side.
Right.
And so if the school and I realize why, that historically in many past generations the school hasn't been able to realize any savings, but if we are so strict about how we're funding it, that then if there is any savings on either side, it can't help on the other side.
Right. And
So-
and again, it's clarity versus transparency. You know, you gotta be clear so that people understand. And I'm hoping we could do transparency and clarity, but I don't think that's possible. In the way we do our town budget and warrants and everything. So what are we, in regards to that, we're looking to put them both together or to separate them? Is that what we're looking to vote on, so to speak?
No, we're looking, this is just for the language for the override. So essentially, we're saying question 1 is going
Is
to
that on the
be.
warrant that I'm?
Nope, it's right here in this that Heather gave us just tonight.
No, all I have is this.
Yeah,
Yep, that's it.
Oh,
So the first section there is it's from what I'm under, I mean, Alex and Paul, please, if, what your thoughts are as far as tying the assessment to the override, if you're.
the first one ties the override, ties the the school assessment to the override.
No, it just keeps everything, it said regardless of whether the override passes, the assessment would, assuming that that warrant article is approved. The school assessment is not contingent on the override, is
If,
the first.
No.
if we wanted the school assessment contingent, we would have to do all 6 questions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. If we are considering or willing to have just the override go towards the total operating budget, which would include the school, but not only the school, then we would do 1, 2, 3.
1, 2, 3.
Okay.
And there's 3 because that's the multi-year override where we're saying for year 1, again, if the assessment reduction goes through tonight, we would be asking for 2.5 million in year 1. Year 2, second question would be 1.5 million, and then year 3 would be 1.1 million. And those are all separate ballot questions.
So the 2.5 includes the assessment from what you said.
Correct. That would be the reduced assessment value. That's the little kink here. So either way, we have to vote on these. It's just what that final number is, which we're saying if tonight's school committee vote is positive and they have those assessment reductions, we would be looking for a 2.5 total override. If it doesn't, for whatever reason, go through, we would be looking for that 3 million override because there is no reduction in it. We need to cover it.
So if you look at the 2 pages with the budget, the top page, the bottom line is 31 million,
Right.
$31,658,000. And then the next page, it's $31,232,000. The difference between those two is $425,000, which is the proposed reduction of the school assessment. So if they vote tonight to reduce the school assessment for the town of Rutland, and we would be able to reduce our overall budget by that $425,000, which equates to a $500,000 reduction in our override request for the first year. So we don't, instead of needing 3 million, we only need 2.5. And that would fund all of our operating expenses for the fiscal 2027.
Okay, I understand that part A then.
Yep.
I don't understand B, where on A, we go from 3 million to 2,000,005. But
Yeah.
on B, we go from 1,000,001 to 1,000,005.
Yes, because we know that to balance our FY 29 budget, right, so we're looking at a 3-year override ask. We know that at the end, in order to balance FY 29 in either scenario, whether the school assessment for FY 27 goes down or not, we still need $5.1 million in total over 3 years to balance our budget for the next 3 years. So the increments of how we get there will change based on our actual budget need. So, for example, in FY '27, we know that we will only need to raise and appropriate $31,232,000. So we're only going to ask voters to approve an override that meets that exact appropriation need. In FY '28, our exact appropriation need is 1.5, because we have to pick up the discount, if you will, or the reduction from the school assessment for next year. So,
Okay, I understand
yeah,
that.
okay.
I understand that. And I guess I'm looking at these numbers and okay, one goes up, you know, and then the next year it's a little bit, third year it's a little better. But how do we tell them this is not guaranteed? If we need 1.5 million in year 2028, where does the other 400,000 come from if we've already allocated 1.1 million? I think there needs to be a disclaimer of some kind.
But it's already included, so, so this is only gonna be confusing tonight. Because once you settle on what you're going to fix your override to, right? Once we take the vote and we say that these are the numbers that we're moving forward with, then all of my presentation, all of my override materials will focus only on those numbers. So the 3 million goes away, and we're only talking about how we get to 5.1 starting from 2.5.
But you and everybody else has said 5.1 is not a real number.
Oh, no, it's a real number.
No, we don't know what that number's gonna be. I'm sorry, 3 years from now, we don't know what expenses are gonna be or anything. So how do we tell the people that we want this money, this is our best guess, but it's not guaranteed?
So what are
I'm thinking of our town people now. I'm just thinking of,
Yeah, I understand. So what my messaging has been consistently through this process is that the escalating factors have to be maintained by the 5 of you, the members of our school committee, and myself, and the school superintendent. We know that this math is only going to work for 3 years if we maintain town expenses at 3% and school expenses at 6%. If we deviate and go over 3% and 6%, then you're correct. That number does change. It puts the responsibility back on all of us to honor that and to acknowledge that our municipal costs cannot rise more than 3% for the next 3 years. And likewise, we have to do everything we can to continue to work with the school to make sure that their expenses and our portion of those expenses don't increase over 6%. Because yes, after that, the math does fall apart. However, this is the best, most reasonable budget 5-year forecast model that we can present to voters. Now, the reason that we are asking for a multi-year is because it removes the necessity of coming back every year for the next 3 years. That's sort of the obvious one, right? We can take the pressure off the voters, we can take the pressure off the board, we can take the pressure off of me, because we know that our next 3 years are mapped out for us. And it then allows us to do what we keep saying that we're gonna do, which is look at what our options are to improve our revenue situation, to improve our expenses, so that in FY '29, going into FY '30, we're not looking at another override. But if I'm gonna be managing, and you're gonna be managing an override ask for the next 3 years, coming back every year, living literally essentially paycheck to paycheck, right? I mean, granted, a big paycheck, but if we're managing this type of crisis mode every year for 3 years, we will not have the ability to focus on the work that we need to focus on, which is finding and putting into place a plan that
Gets us out of
helps
this.
and alleviates our problems. It also really allows us to do that 3-year, a little longer term planning, which I think is what we're missing I know in this moment, right? In this moment, all of my energy and all of my focus is spent on managing this. And that will continue to repeat itself for the next 3 years if we don't ask for and hopefully get the voters to approve a 3-year commitment. In the way this is structured, if a voter gets to the polls and says, you know what, I am simply not comfortable with 3 years, I will give them the 1 year. They can vote yes and then no and then no. If they're only comfortable with a 2-year commitment, they can vote yes, yes, and no. And I think the reality is that there are some that will vote no, no, and no. And that's absolutely fine. But I think that the structure of this really allows the voters to have complete control over their financial future. And keeping in mind, they still have to vote the budget every town meeting. We can't spend a nickel. We can say that we can legally raise that amount of money in FY28 and FY29, but until voters approve that budget at town meeting, we can't spend a nickel.
See, I don't have a problem with the amount of money, because I know whether we approve it now or we approve it next year, that's the need for the town. I have no problem with it. My issue is making sure that 3 years from now, we don't have that money, we cut town services. We don't ask for an override, because we didn't do our job right then,
Yeah.
I won't be here,
No,
but I'll be one of them standing up in the
Yeah,
audience,
no,
I'll tell you that.
I think that this does put a lot of accountability on all of us to come forward with a budget in FY28 that escalates no more than 3%. And if the schools come in over 6, then the responsibility is on us to find a way to adjust for that. So I really think in a way, it's probably the voters' best opportunity that they have to control what we spend, because they are gonna put a ceiling on us for 3 years. And that probably never happened, right? You go from year to year, and sometimes you'll come in at 3, sometimes you come in at 4, sometimes this way voters know that they have put a ceiling on the amount of money that we're gonna spend for the next 3 years.
You know what, I have so many questions that I'm not gonna tie it up tonight. I would love to sit down with you and talk more about this, because I have a lot of questions.
Absolutely. Well, you know where my office is.
I do, and I'll make a point to be there this week.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay, and I appreciate the board's indulgence on my questions.
It's a lot.
It is.
Yeah.
Are there any?
Then and I wanna make sure to call Alex.
Yeah, Paul and Alex, did any of you, either of you have? Anything
I
you wanna say?
concur with Leah's comments.
Anything that you?
Yeah, I can go along with what's been put forth so far, not having understanding it and understanding the difficulty of what is involved with this whole thing, and yet having been impressed with the budget presentations that were made to us by the schools, I think, all right, they're doing their level-headed best to keep things under control. And so, looking at things in that, with that respect, I say, okay, understand the town budget being what it is. Okay, so, John Q. taxpayer is, the one who's gonna look at this and say, what, you know? But at any rate, yeah, overall, I think that, you know, the budget that's been put together, the figures that are there, makes sense.
Then I would make a motion to approve the override ballot language for the May 11th, 2026 annual town election and transmit it to the town clerk as presented in the top portion with the 3 ballot questions, only for the general operating budget and with the reduced amount the first year and the adjusted amounts the second and third year, pending the successful completion of the Wachusett Regional School District budget adjustments as we had discussed.
Thank you.
Second.
Motion and a second. My one question is, again, I have hopefully every faith that that vote will be favorable tonight. If it is not, do we just fall back to the previous amounts that are here?
Then I would amend my
Is that the?
then I would amend my motion to keep the lower amounts and adjusted amounts contingent on that, and should that not happen in time for this meeting, for the transmission of that, then we go with the original presented dollar amounts.
Thank you.
Amended second.
Okay, so make sure I get my, do we need to vote on the amendment, or is it just friendly amendment?
I don't know, she made the second amendment, I think it was all just, and she revised it, that's
Yeah,
all.
and Alex did the
We
second
haven't voted
amendment, we
on
didn't
it.
vote on
Okay,
the
okay,
first,
so
yeah.
we have one motion and we have a second, Alex seconded, okay. Is there any discussion? All right, roll call, Alex.
Hold on.
Second, aye.
Women on.
That's enough.
Ledger I. Thank you very much. All right, so ballot language is all set. Last item on the agenda this evening, is still related to the FY 27 budget. We've had a lot of budget hearings that we've gone through. Last week's, joint meeting and just general budget discussion, Heather had, brought forward a memo with the, I would say relatively minor changes and things that were addressed based on feedback from the board and the committees, so those adjustments have been made. What we have, that Heather gave us again tonight, these 2 charts, is essentially the final budget, again with 2 versions, one with the reduced assessment, which is the second page, and the top page with the current assessment. Everything else is exactly the same. So I just wanted to bring the topic before the board again, see if there was any last questions for Heather on this budget. And if not, have the board consider a motion to approve the FY 27 budget that has been presented.
Pending the results of
Yes,
the school committee
yes.
or the WRSD.
Correct. Which would be updated.
Yeah.
So you're looking for a motion to approve the budget as presented?
Ideally, yes.
So moved.
Second. Should we,
Pending the vote of WRSD?
I would say it's, I mean, we would
Which
approve-
version is it? Is it this one, or it's just the school assessment that would need to change?
It's version specific, so we would approve I think, Alex, we would approve the version presented on the first page with the current WRSD if something doesn't happen
Correct.
in time. We would approve the reduced amount, the reduced amount pending successful
Yeah.
WRSD
Correct.
reduction.
And I'm sorry that this has become very confusing. The fact that all of their significant votes are happening simultaneously of your meeting does make it challenging, but I think that it's important that we, keep the flexibility in the motion.
Can I just read it back to make sure I understood correctly? So a motion to approve the final budget as presented in version 1 and or to approve the reduced amount in version 2 pending a successful vote of the Wachusett Regional School District. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion? All right, roll call. Alex?
Second, aye.
Women on.
That's enough.
Ledger I. thank you
Yeah, I was gonna
to
say
the board, and to
Thank you, Heather, for all the back and forth, and for FinCom for all their back and
Yes.
forth, and department heads and everything. I know it's been a lot of back and forth, so.
Well, and I also just sort of acknowledge that I know that the numbers continue to sort of shift, but I think that it's important that they're shifting down. You know, as I think it really shows the due diligence of everybody involved, to look for, every last dollar. And I think that what's gonna be really important is that, you know, as I said the evening that I interviewed in front of you all, that we would only move forward with a override that we could show the math behind and show voters exactly where that dollar is coming from. And I'm confident that we can do that with this budget.
Thank you. Thank you. And I know you came in the middle of it all and kind of had everything thrown at you, so.
I kind of have a great team that's making this all so more manageable.
But thank you all for, I know it's teamwork, I appreciate it.
All right, for future agenda requests, we do have the trash hauler topic, so we'll work on that. Are there any other topics from the board?
You know, I come up with these things, but I can't come up with them at the meeting.
That's okay.
So-
Feel, whatever you feel, message me, message Heather, we'll
okay.
make sure we do. All right, so our upcoming board meetings, we have next Thursday is April 9th. That will be our joint meeting with FinCom to review the warrant and make recommendations on the articles. April 13th is our next regular meeting. April 27th is the regular meeting after that, and then May 9th is our annual town meeting. And as Heather mentioned, we will communicate to see when that May 11th board meeting should be rescheduled to. Is there anything else to come before the board tonight? Motion to adjourn. Motion, second. Any discussion?
None.
All right, roll call, Alex?
Second, I.
Women,
Matt's and I.
And ledger I, we are adjourned at 8:54.